Native people, Native culture, Native knowledge. Hi, I'm Jeanie Greene, bringing you award-winning Heartbeat Alaska.
Bringing you national and international Native news, this is award-winning Heartbeat Alaska, the premier Native voice in Native programming.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder, revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Now, with Heartbeat Alaska, here's
Hello,
Jeanie
welcome
Greene.
to Heartbeat Alaska, Native news and Native entertainment. I'm Jeanie Greene. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello to our viewers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So glad to have you with us once again. Heartbeat Alaska is aired over the Minnesota Television Network in that beautiful state. Today, we travel north to the Athabascan village of Minto, Alaska. And though the holiday seasons are over, the local residents wanted to share a potlatch with us, thanks to video contributed by Gerald Pilot. We traveled to the Athabascan village of Venetie, Alaska, and then south to Florida. And thank you so much, Seminole Broadcasting in Florida, for that video. We also take a look at the first world gathering of Indigenous peoples around the world. It's a Christian gathering with wonderful, wonderful video. We're so grateful to Richard Twist for that video. Don't go away. John Active is up next with Native news across the country.
Thanks, Jeanie. Kansas must recognize legally issued license plates of Indian nations just as it accepts the tags of other states, the Kansas Court of Appeals ruled. The decision was a victory for the Sac and Fox nations of Oklahoma and perhaps cleared the way for Kansas Indian tribes to issue their own vehicle license plates as well. A unanimous decision by a 3-judge panel of the court said Kansas must grant the same reciprocity on license plates to Indian nations that it grants to other states. As many as 4 Indian casinos in Santa Fe must have to close unless the state lowers its revenue and regulatory requirements on tribal gambling. Smaller casinos might not make enough money to justify the hefty fees and revenue-sharing requirements of state law. Casinos operated by Taos, Acoma, and San Felipe Pueblos, as well as the Jacarilla Apaches, were the most likely candidates for closing. The mother of an American Indian teenager sentenced to attend church and Sunday school for fighting has sued the judge who ordered the punishment as the only alternative to a fine. But the justice of the peace who sentenced Zach Smith, 14, of Lancaster, Texas, says he will end his church program for juveniles rather than fight the American Civil Liberties Union. In the lawsuit filed in December, the ACLU contended Dallas County Justice of the Peace Bruce McDougall's program was unconstitutional as an abuse of authority and the establishment of religion. No secular options were offered for the $200 fine, the ACLU said. I'll be right back after this.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by the Aurora, Alaska Premium Smoked Salmon and Seafoods Company, an Alaska Native-owned company, proud to sponsor Heartbeat Alaska.
And by Ute Air Alaska, official airlines of Heartbeat Alaska. Ute Air Alaska, taking you home.
A 100-year-old man says he isn't up to long road trips anymore. But as long as his memory stretches back over the decades, Rolla Johnson says he remembers his first cross-country drive in a Model T Ford like it was yesterday. In the fall of 1924, he and his wife Cora drove from Portland for Sarasota, Florida, averaging the breakneck speed of 35 miles per hour. They lived there for a couple of years until a hurricane and tidal wave persuaded them to leave. Heading back west, the couple lived in Sacramento, California, and when Cora died, he remarried. Johnson said his secret to long life is living right. The main thing is to behave yourself and keep your nose clean. And finally, Tonto is getting an award 18 years after his death. A Los Angeles group called First Americans in the Arts will honor Jay Silverheels for being a hero to many Native Americans. A spokesman for the group said Silverheels not only was a role model, he helped other Native American performers by creating the Indian Actors Workshop. Silverheels will be honored at a ceremony on February 21st. That's it. Thank you for listening. I'm John Active.
There's a heartbeat.
Ilaput kununakut. Tingsut pasok hunlu ayagaksuta kinunam tnu. Kinunam tasu tkitlah kaputsafknata ngiliu kaksuku. Tingsut nun kzenik kakafti nakugut atugaksuki. At nechten ritlakam tunginun atugut. Mananasunakun taitimak ukunik FAA Aviation Safety Program Mark in Alaska.
And now some community news updates from around the state of Alaska. And Alaskans in the Aleutian chain are bracing for the flood of crew members and processors due to hit that town in the next few weeks. Pollock, cod, and crab fisheries will get underway this month. In the Bristol Bay area, the president of a Seattle seafood processing company has been fined $10,000 for dumping herring. Male herring were dumped during the Togiak commercial fishery this past May. It's not known exactly how much herring was dumped. In Ketchikan, Alaska, yesterday marked the open house of the new Ketchikan Tribal Health Clinic. If you're in that southeast Alaska town, stop by. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And a series of statewide public hearings on proposed federal regulations for management of subsistence fishing on federal waters will be held around the state of Alaska. The Federal Subsistence Board is scheduled to assume subsistence fisheries management on December 1st of this year because of a conflict between a state Supreme Court filing and a federal law that requests the state to recognize a rural subsistence priority for use of fishing game. For copies of the proposed regulations and further information, call 800-478-1456. That's it. I'll be back in just a moment.
Fun. It should be part of growing up in Alaska, but alcohol may put an end to that.
Alcohol has the power to stop you from going to places you want to go and from doing the things you want to do.
It may seem like everyone you know is drinking, but in reality, more than half of Alaska's 7th to 9th graders haven't tried alcohol. Stay in the majority. Alcohol-free. It's an attitude.
For more information, contact the Alaska Council on Prevention of Alcohol and Drug Abuse.
We travel now to Minto, Alaska, and though it's not the holiday season, we'd like to share this video with you. The good residents of Minto, Alaska, enjoying this past Christmas potlatch.
What about about the potlatch we put together?
Oh, it's so wonderful and beautiful and yummy.
What about you?
Ditto.
What about you?
Same thing.
No, we need different answers.
Over there, come in.
You want to pass me that paper towel right there?
Okay, go ahead.
From Minto, we traveled to Venetie, Alaska, an Athabascan that's been in the news lately because of Indian country ruling. An important issue here in Alaska, an important issue all over America. But let's take a look at another issue, sobriety, one that Venetie has reason to be proud of.
Venetie, Alaska is located on the Channelar River, 140 miles north of Fairbanks. It's an Indian village, settled in the 1900s. Venetie is incorporated and is part of the 1.8 million acre Venetie Indian Reservation.
We never really experienced alcohol till the 1950s and 60s. That's when it really began with us. And we're in a process, and if you look at the history of alcohol, many other races from Europe and Asia and that area had experience with alcohol since before even Christ. And we, as Native people, haven't had that experience.
It's very tasty. It makes the flavor of the essential. Do that to chicken, you'll have a good chicken soup.
Hi, this is Gary. My name is Gary Simple. And I'd like to say that some of the kids that you see just now playing is, they never see anybody drunk or anybody, they never smell any dope or anything like that. Here in Venetie, we're few of us family try to stay sober and be drug-free and smoking marijuana and all these other things. So a lot of kids that you see here on this, around here, they never experience their parents being drunk for a week or 2 weeks, or it's not an everyday thing for them. It's once in a while when they go to Fairbanks or stuff like that. But you know, other than that, they don't see anyone drinking or getting drunk or staggering on the street and stuff like that. These kids are like that. A lot of them, they don't know how it is to be crying because your parents are drinking. They don't know how it is to be neglected in that way or abused or any other way. And they don't know what it means to lose their parents to drinking and to their loved one to stuff like that. And I'd just like to, mention that. But the thing is that we still have few drinkings a year, but the village council and the people learn how to deal with it over the years. In 1976, or 21 years ago, I think, yeah. And we've been learning how to deal with it, and we take care of it ourselves. We don't let anyone else bother about it. We just handle it ourselves here in Venetie, and we learn how to do that over the years. Just because this is dry town, that doesn't mean people are not trying to sneak it in. Our own people really try to fight against us sometimes by trying to sneak it in and try to drink around here and stuff like that. But we still like them because they are our people and they have a problem drinking, so we learn how to deal with it that way. So, just because we got dry town, that doesn't mean there's no drinking here. There must be about 5 or 6 or 7, 10 times a year or so. Once a month, people drink. They try to sneak it in through mail and airplane, boats, snow machine. They carry on their bodies. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes we don't check the airplane. People bring it in, and as a people, we try to work together, and that's how it is nowadays. So I'd like to mention again that our kids, some of our kids, they have a drug and alcohol-free life. Jimmy is one of the elders who built canoes here. Oh yeah, it's this is the front of the canoe. They made out of the stumps. You go out and find a good stump, and you dry stump and bring it back and carve it. It go right in here, see? Go just like that right there. I bet you use glue nowadays. This is how they make it. This is kind of this is a kind of canoe I got.
I've been here since 1982, and what I really truly enjoy about all of this, other than the national news about Indian country and Indian rights, is the fact that these people speak their language and they maintain and hold on to their traditional values. And above all, there's no alcohol. It's an alcohol-free village. They have respect for one another, and they show it, and the kids have an opportunity to live a meaningful life. And I've grown up in Fairbanks and villages downriver and have seen what alcohol can do. And when I first come on up here just for a couple weeks to enjoy the spring carnival here in Venetie back in '82, I marveled at the fact that these people here are holding on to their way of life. And I've not found any other place in Alaska that's like this. And I ended up staying. My wife's from here, and we have 3 children. And she's now in charge of the clinic, and I take care of the power plant here, and it's a good life.
The sound of the drums is one of the important things in our life. The music, the culture, and our way of life is one of those way of life is one of the important things, the issue that we have on our land, Venetie, is the non-alcohol residents. Most of the people in our land are non-alcohol drinkers. They don't fool with alcohol or drugs. And we were born the last 14 years. My name is Ernest Erick. In the last 14 years, I'm a dry, non-alcoholic. I'm a sobriety person. I live the way my grandfather has taught me, and I give that value to my children and my grandchildren. Those values belongs to them, and I have that trait in my people to teach my grandchildren and also my children today. And like I say, I'm not an alcohol drinker or drug user, and so is my kids. In the last 14 years that I never touched on any alcohol, my kids that never smell or seen alcohol or anybody that drunk inside of their own home. Maybe once upon a time, a smell was in the place of my home, But that was not that smell. The children found that smell right away, that doesn't belong in this community or inside of my home. And they realized that the alcohol does not belong to our people and our children. Those are important things that we have on our land. We've been forcing it, and we have ordinance laws to obey these laws, and we won't live like this if we have alcohol. We won't have land that belongs to the native people if there's alcohol on our land. We'll lose our land or sell our land. Alcohol is one of the biggest strong disease for native people. And I like to see other villages in this side of the state of Alaska that people operates with alcohol. It's not a very good education level for our children. And those things it's coming today that it's been recognized among the native people that alcohol and drugs, it's not good inside of our community. And that's not part of the leadership either, When the bush people and the system, they don't know each other. Even we live in the same state. That's how it is. Nobody knows each other. We live the bush life, they live the system life, I cannot tell. Maybe I might save their land or save their air or their water by speaking to those 300,000 people in the last Anchorage, by speaking to them, but they cannot save my last life because they don't know it. They don't know how to live in it, because that's why I'm saying the Alaskan Native people, they know their territory, their water, their land, their air, and they know what's going to affect them in the future. They see that, So is leadership is the one that's going to affect the people. The leadership. If you lead your people the wrong way, the wrong trail, they're going to end up in nowhere.
With alcohol.
With alcohol. And that's the same thing that state government and the Alaskan government and the Alaska government specialists or government, like congressmen, senates. This is the kind of things that are given to Alaskan people. And then this high rate of everything is shown instead of the, they say Native is taking too much meat. And all that is just a lie. And I believe nobody, just our people knows our way of life.
Travel around the world with the first world gathering, the first Christian world gathering of Indigenous peoples.
We call them Indigenous, the First Nations people, those that inhabited the land before any others. Their stories are known to us, misunderstood, invaded, enslaved, beaten, killed, many of their lands and traditions taken from them, some in the name of God. Yet a new time has begun on the earth, a time of rebirth, of regeneration, a time of redemption.
culture is not the end point, it's the means by which you go from the Bible into your heart and then back to heaven.
Thank you once again for joining us on Heartbeat Alaska. Remember, each culture is different, and because your perspective is different than your neighbor's doesn't mean that it's wrong. We take pride in sharing our news with you, and thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. Have a fabulous week. Send me video. I'll see you again next week.
Soldier, soldier, soldier.